couple of weeks ago, I read an article written by a very liberal Democratic politician. One of the statements in his article was that pride has torn the fabric of America. As I did the rest of the article, I gave it a couple of seconds thought. It seemed odd. I disregarded it as rubbish and continued on with my day. Now, a week ago, an old friend of mine decided to come by the shop and pay me a visit. I hadn't seen him in quite some time. He's a married man now, has a child, and after catching up, he wanted to show me his new toy. And his new toy was a mid-90s Mustang that was a bit of a hot rod, and he asked me to take it for a drive. Now, of course, all of you know, I love ripping through gears, and even more so when I have the owner's permission and it's not my car. I enjoy that quite a bit. So, I went on a test ride. Really nice car. The thing ran great. And he bought the car as a project to complete what had already been started. And this friend of mine has worked very hard his entire life. He's got a lot of integrity. He's an honest guy, and he has a lot of pride. He was very proud of this project that he had purchased, proud enough to bring it to me to show it off. And I was absolutely thrilled for him. I was very happy, and I felt rewarded that he had chosen to share his accomplishment with me. And every day that I walk into the shop, I think about what I did the day before, and at the end of the day, when I, in a ritualistic manner, take off my work shirt, I reflect on what I've done for that day. And if I'm not proud of what I've done that day, I do it over again until I feel I've accomplished my goal of completing that task to my standards, which are very high. Now, some may call that obsessive compulsive. I call it a job well done. And I reflect on the statement from this liberal Democratic politician that pride has torn the fabric of America. I have to say that I can't disagree with him more. I have many friends that are well accomplished in their trade. I have one very good friend who lives in Texas, and he's an anesthesiologist. And he's been in that career for 20-some years. But he's also a veteran. And despite the fact that he has done that job for so many years, he is incredibly proud of the tasks that he performs every day because he gives it 100% of his effort. Then I have another friend that I've known for well over 20 years. He was actually my age when I met him for the first time. And I would say, among many things that he can do, one of his most recent specialties is computer animation. And I talk to him pretty much on a daily basis. And this friend of mine spends hours, countless hours, perfecting the animations that he creates on his computer. And admittedly, a lot of times I look at these animations and it's very difficult to discern between computer animation and reality. There could be the absolute smallest detail of his creation that most people would never notice, but he knows it's there. And he takes so much pride in what he does that he will spend those countless hours to perfect the task that he's challenged himself with. And I have an enormous amount of respect for that. Anyone that's a true craftsman that will put all of their heart and soul into their task until they're satisfied. And I was surprised when I went to the Webster's Dictionary and looked up the definition of pride. And that definition is an emotion derived from a sense of accomplishment, I don't see how that can be a bad thing. We all want to be proud of what we do. We all want to apply ourselves and know that when we've completed something, we're not ashamed to tell anyone that we did it. So I try to understand how pride could have torn the fabric of America. I think this politician is looking at reality through fogged lenses. I think maybe the lack of pride in individuals and a sense of entitlement has been what is crushing America. I think back to some of my accomplishments that I've been very proud of, and one that stands out was my first professional or semi-pro bicycle race I ever did. I used to race mountain bikes and road bikes for Firestone, and one of those first races was the Tour de Cashers. Now, the Tour de Cashers was a pretty brutal 100-mile bicycle ride through the North Georgia mountains in North Carolina and tapped into Tennessee, but 100 miles in one shot. And I remember the middle of the race, we're on an unbelievable 12% grade that seemed to go on for miles and miles. And I was pedaling barely fast enough to keep the bicycle upright. My knees looked like cantaloupes. It took every ounce of drive that I had to not stop. And when I finished the race, I wept. We came down a long hill into the town of Cashers, North Carolina. And when I stopped, I collapsed. And I wept. I knew how hard I worked for the 2 years before to condition myself to be able to handle a race like that. And I know the punishment that I put my body through to complete the race. And when I finished it, I was so overcome with emotion and pride. It made every ounce of effort worth it. So in order for us to be proud of the tasks that we do, we may have to put in a lot of sweat, a lot of tears, and a lot of hard work. And those things don't always make us feel good. But in the end, if we're proud of what we've done, it can be quite an overwhelming emotion. And maybe this politician lacks the drive and integrity to apply himself in such a manner that he could be proud of the things that he's accomplished. And I think if we continue to change our habits so that we can be proud of what we do instead of dismissing pride, I think this country can become, again, what it once was. And today, as I ride to the mountain again, I'm excited to get there, to work, to do more. And when I leave at the end of the day, I want to be proud of the work that I've completed and know that I've done so to the absolute best of my abilities. And another part of that, I had a friend shoot me an email, I had to chuckle a bit, who had never cut down a tree before. And he has a very large tree in his yard that he's terrified of cutting down. He lives out of state. He asked me if I could help him through video cut this tree down. So we'll get into a little more detail of how to calculate where the height of the tree from the ground, and how to actually cut the wedge, and how to make one fall exactly where we want it to go, because that's what we're going to do today. You remember the last tree I cut down? I was off a little. I didn't like that very much. I wasn't very proud of what I did that day. So today, we're going to nail it.